Most older men have no idea what it is that makes younger women drawn to them. They think it's about money, lifestyle, or status, but the truth runs much deeper in female psychology. Women, especially younger ones, are not just looking for adventure or excitement. They're looking for emotional grounding. When a man has lived enough to understand himself, that energy speaks louder than any looks or material possession. It says, I know who I am, and I don't need to prove it. And for a feminine woman, that's magnetic. Younger women are subconsciously tired of emotional chaos. They've grown up surrounded by men who compete for validation, who play games, who confuse attention with affection. Then suddenly they meet someone different, someone calm, centered, observant. He doesn't rush to impress. He listens. He makes her feel seen instead of scanned. That's when something shifts in her. She begins to relax in his presence. And that emotional relaxation is the foundation of attraction. When a man is older, he's learned the difference between reacting and responding. He's not controlled by impulses. He's guided by wisdom. That self-control communicates masculine authority, but not in an aggressive way, in a way that feels safe. This is one of the deepest triggers in feminine psychology, emotional safety, because once a woman feels safe, her guard drops, her energy softens, and her feminine side awakens naturally. You see, younger women are not fascinated by age. They are fascinated by emotional maturity. They crave the peace that comes with a man who doesn't need to argue to prove a point, who doesn't panic when something goes wrong, and who can lead with logic and patience. He doesn't raise his voice, he raises the standard of energy in the room. This is also why older men often underestimate their value. They assume they've lost their edge because they're not as young or flashy. But they don't realize that their edge is their stillness. Their silence speaks more powerfully than words. Their eyes tell a story that youth can't replicate. Because experience teaches depth, and depth is what captivates a woman who's tired of surface-level charm. In the presence of that kind of man, a young woman doesn't feel the need to perform. She feels inspired to grow. That's unspoken connection. He doesn't compete with her, he grounds her. And she admires him not because he's older, but because he carries himself with emotional intelligence. Older men who understand this no longer chase, they attract. They don't talk about what they can offer, they embody it. Their energy says, I've been through the storm, and I don't. Emotional security over physical perfection is one of the deepest truths hidden inside female psychology, and it's something that most men never fully understand. When women, especially younger ones, connect with an older man, what they are drawn to isn't the surface. It's the feeling of emotional safety that surrounds him. You see, a woman's attraction doesn't start in her eyes, it starts in her emotions. The feminine heart opens not because a man looks good, but because she feels good around him. And that feeling of calm, of being seen and protected, is what makes her fall deeper than any physical feature ever could. From a psychological standpoint, emotional safety is tied to the way a woman experiences connection. The female nervous system is naturally more emotionally responsive. It reads energy, tone, consistency, and presence before it ever processes words. When she's with a man who is grounded, someone who doesn't explode when triggered, who doesn't mock her emotions, who listens without judgment, her body relaxes. She stops analyzing, her guard drops. That's when real attraction begins to grow, because attraction is not built in chaos. It's built in emotional peace. Younger women are surrounded by constant emotional noise. They see younger men competing for attention, playing games, chasing one moment and disappearing the next. This kind of inconsistency creates anxiety. It keeps her on edge, always guessing, never secure. And in that kind of dynamic, she cannot feel safe enough to be her feminine self. Then she encounters someone older. He doesn't rush to prove himself, doesn't chase validation, doesn't need to perform. His energy feels different, calmer, slower, steady. Suddenly, her nervous system feels something unfamiliar, peace. And peace to a woman is the most attractive thing in the world. That emotional peace communicates something that words cannot. It says, you're safe here. You can exhale. It tells her subconscious that she doesn't have to compete. She doesn't have to impress. She doesn't have to guard herself. And this is why emotional safety beats physical perfection every time. A man can have the most sculpted body or the most charming face, but if he creates anxiety, if his energy feels unstable, her attraction fades no matter how good he looks. But a man who creates peace inside her mind and stability inside her emotions becomes unforgettable, even if he's imperfect in every other way. You see, emotional safety activates a woman's softness. It allows her to open, to trust, to express. And once a woman feels emotionally safe, she stops performing and starts connecting. That's when her femininity blooms effortlessly. Most men try to impress women by doing more, talking louder, buying things, showing off, But what women really crave is a man who can make them feel more. The one who listens deeply, who remembers small details, who maintains composure when she's emotional, who knows how to create calm instead of reacting with chaos. That energy creates a silent message in her mind that says, he can handle me. And that feeling more than anything else makes her fall. Older men often provide this energy naturally because they've lived through enough life to understand emotional control. They've been broken, rebuilt, and matured. They don't panic over small things. They don't make decisions from insecurity. They understand that emotions are not problems to be fixed, but experiences to be understood. When they speak, they do it with intention, not impulse. When they act, it's with patience, not pressure. That's the kind of energy a woman can trust. It doesn't drain her. It anchors her. There's also something profoundly attractive about a man who doesn't judge her emotions. Younger women often feel like their feelings are too much, too dramatic, too emotional, too sensitive. But when she meets a man who can handle that without dismissing her, she feels emotionally validated. He doesn't argue against her emotions. He allows her to feel them while remaining calm himself. This is one of the most powerful masculine traits. The ability to remain grounded in the presence of emotion. That grounded energy tells her subconscious that she doesn't have to carry all the emotional weight alone. He can hold space for her. In female psychology, this holding space is what transforms attraction into attachment, because once a woman feels seen, heard, and emotionally protected, her bond deepens. It's no longer about looks or status, it's about emotional resonance. That resonance is what makes her crave his presence even when he's silent. It's what makes her think of him when she feels anxious. It's what makes her trust him when everyone else feels uncertain. She's not addicted to the man himself. She's addicted to how safe she feels in his energy. That's why women often say, he just makes me feel calm. They might not even understand why, but their bodies do. Biology plays a role here. When a woman feels emotionally safe, her body releases oxytocin, the bonding hormone that creates trust and comfort. When she feels unsafe, her cortisol rises, and cortisol kills attraction. So emotional safety literally changes her chemistry. Older men who bring peace without needing control or dominance activate that oxytocin response effortlessly. They make her body feel at ease, and her mind follows. This is why so many women will say they're drawn to men who make them feel protected. Not necessarily physically, but emotionally. Protection isn't about defending her from danger. It's about protecting her peace. It's about being the person she can emotionally lean on without being judged. When she knows that no matter how emotional she gets, he won't shame her or withdraw, she feels an unshakable trust. That trust is the soil where real feminine love grows. So when people wonder why younger women are attracted to older men, the answer lies in this deep psychological truth. Older men provide the emotional security that most younger men haven't developed yet. They carry themselves with quiet strength, not loud ego. They lead with steadiness, not unpredictability. They don't drain energy, they contain it. And in that emotional containment, women find the peace they've been searching for. Because in the end, attraction for women isn't about who looks the youngest. It's about who feels the safest. A woman can admire a man's looks, but she falls in love with his emotional energy. And that's something no gym, no car, no luxury can ever replace. Emotional security is the invisible magnet that pulls her closer. It's the reason she softens, the reason she stays, and the reason she feels like she's finally home. Masculine confidence without the noise is one of the most magnetic traits a man can possess her, and it's the exact quality that younger women subconsciously crave when they find themselves drawn to an older man. It's not the loud kind of confidence that announces itself, but the quiet kind, the confidence that doesn't need to prove, doesn't need to perform, and doesn't need validation from anyone. This kind of presence has weight. When he walks into a room, it's not his voice that commands attention, it's his energy. He doesn't seek approval, he gives assurance. And in the psychology of attraction, that difference changes everything. You see, confidence is not about what a man says about himself. It's about how he carries himself when no one is watching. Younger men often try to project confidence through external things by being louder, flashier, more aggressive, because they haven't yet developed internal validation. They're still learning who they are, still needing others to reflect their worth back to them. But older men have already faced failure, rejection, loss, and growth. They've had their ego tested by life itself. And that journey creates a quiet kind of power that no performance can replicate. It's not arrogance. It's acceptance, a deep understanding of one's strengths and flaws without the need to hide either. For a woman, especially a younger one, this kind of masculine confidence feels incredibly safe and grounding. It tells her, I know who I am, and nothing you say or do will shake that. That energy creates an emotional container where she can relax. Because women don't want to compete with a man's ego. They want to feel secure in his presence. When a man is confident without noise, he gives her emotional space to just be. He doesn't seek to dominate her energy, he balances it. His confidence is not an act, it's an atmosphere. Female psychology responds instinctively to this. When a woman meets a man who is genuinely comfortable in his own skin, her defenses drop almost instantly. She feels a natural pull toward him, not because he's trying to impress her, but because his energy gives her permission to let go of control. This is what activates her feminine energy, that sense of surrender that only happens when she trusts the masculine energy before her. She can feel when a man's confidence is real because it's not loud, it's subtle, steady, consistent. Real masculine confidence is not reactive. It doesn't crumble under rejection. It doesn't seek revenge when ignored. It doesn't need to prove dominance to feel powerful. Older men who embody this have mastered emotional restraint. They've learned that control is not suppression, it's direction. When they feel anger, they don't explode. When they feel attraction, they don't chase. They act from intention, not impulse. That control of energy is what makes them so magnetic, because women subconsciously associate control with safety. A younger woman can sense when a man is chasing her for validation. It feels like pressure, and pressure kills attraction. But when she meets a man who is not trying to prove anything, who simply exists in his own peace, it feels refreshing. He looks at her with awareness, not hunger. He speaks with calm, not chaos. And she can sense that he doesn't need her to feel powerful. He already is. That's what makes her respect him. That's what makes her curious. Masculine confidence without noise also reflects in how a man handles silence. Younger men often fill every space with words, jokes, or bravado because silence makes them insecure. But an older man knows that silence is not emptiness, it's power. He's comfortable with pauses because he doesn't need to be constantly seen or heard. He lets his presence do the speaking, and for a woman, that's deeply attractive because it communicates emotional maturity. It says, I don't need to entertain you. I'm content in my stillness. Younger women are drawn to this stillness because it represents stability, something rare in the world of emotional turbulence. They see in him a kind of confidence that doesn't depend on attention, that doesn't rise and fall with other people's opinions. It's the confidence of self-mastery. He doesn't chase validation because he's already validated himself. That level of independence inspires a woman to trust him, not because he's controlling, but because he's anchored. True confidence also shows in how a man treats others. The loud, performative kind of confidence often puts others down to feel superior. But quiet confidence uplifts others effortlessly because it's not threatened by them. An older man with real self-assurance can admire a woman's strength without feeling emasculated by it. He can respect her independence without needing to compete. That emotional balance allows her to lean into her softness without fear of being judged or controlled. And that is the foundation of healthy attraction, when the masculine energy is so solid that it invites the feminine energy to be fully expressed.